The latest in the tit for tat between the US and China. China's introduced a new global data security initiative, number of different measures within that. One of the things is it aims to ensure companies don't use technology to steal data or install backdoors in their products. That is, Chinese companies. Our Aikiko Fujita is here with some more details on this. So what, it's 8 or 9 points, I believe, as part of this new plan.
That's right, Julie. And this is seen as a direct response to what the State Department unveiled back in August, known as this Clean Network Initiative. We've talked about this before, essentially calling on countries to create this digital network that rids the internet of assets, in the State Department's words, that pose a long-term threat on data privacy, security, and human rights. Now you've got the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi coming out and calling for a global data security initiative to, in his words, create global rules and norms that reflect the aspiration and interests of the majority of countries. And there's a number of key issues he hits on. One is to maintain an open, stable, and secure global supply chain, oppose mass surveillance against other states, calling on tech companies to not install backdoors in their products and services to illegally obtain user data, and then requiring companies to respect local laws. And of course, critics will look at this and say, this is exactly what the Chinese government does, where the Chinese companies like a Huawei have been accused of doing, creating these backdoors so that the Chinese government can pull data from some of these Chinese companies. Now, Wang Yi reportedly has discussed this with foreign ministers of the G20 nations. That was discussed last week. No specifics on how many countries have actually signed up or are in discussions to sign up, but the Wall Street Journal reporting that the Chinese government has approached a number of countries as well. Now, the bigger picture to all of this is really just this back and forth between the US and the Chinese in this global tech war, as some have called it. Regardless of which side wins out, if that's the right word, the reality is this is a process that could take 10 to 20 years, at least according to cybersecurity experts that I've been speaking to. So this is not an overnight fix, but at least the Chinese coming out and saying, look, if the US is going to go forward and try to get other countries on board with their network initiatives, we've got one to present as well.
Aikiko, Dan here. Does this Chinese security initiative to you represent kind of the most significant step China has now taken in response to all the tech rhetoric from the US, or is this more just a natural follow-up, not really that significant? And then the second part here, I feel like we're dancing around the name, but how does this new initiative affect TikTok? Because a lot of people were just acting as though, okay, a sale is imminent, about to happen, done deal, it just depends on which company it'll be. Now, based on the rhetoric we're hearing from China, well, maybe they're not going to let that TikTok ByteDance action happen.
So let's take the first part of the question first, because it's tough to take out the politics from all of this and really understand the intentions behind the US side or the Chinese side, just given how polarized the environment right now is. But you can certainly point to the foreign minister's words and say, look, this is the Chinese side coming out and turning the accusations that have been placed on them around to say, look, fine, then we're going to work with you. Let's create a global initiative. You know, what I kind of liken it to is what we've been seeing with Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg, after all these accusations from Facebook, to say, look, we understand that there's frustrations out there. We want to work with you to drop a global initiative. What this means for TikTok, I think you want to separate the issue, especially given that the timeline is just around the corner here. We're looking at a number of different deadlines that have been set forward on TikTok having to be spun off. September 15th is one that's been discussed. September 20th is another one. And then you've got one at the beginning of November. And so on that particular issue, you've got the Chinese government that's put forward this export control list, or an expanded list that will allow the government to control who ultimately ends up with TikTok, or whether that deal even goes through.
Aikiko, thank you. I just wanted to mention as well some breaking news here coming out of Hu Xijin, who is the editor of the Global Times in China, which is state sanctioned, tweeting, based on what I know, China will sanction senior U.S. officials who visit Taiwan and American companies which they have ties with. They will never be allowed to enter Chinese mainland, and U.S. companies they have ties with will also lose Chinese mainland market. So that's sort of another issue that is a source of conflict between the U.S. and China.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.